third episode of Uvacha. So, today we are with Swami Virupakshaji. He has been associated with Gurudev from past 21 years and has been teaching meditation, yoga, pranayam. He has worked in regions like Sri Lanka, Europe, and Tamil Nadu. So let's invite Swamiji today and ask him certain questions which all of us as a seeker would like to hear answers about. Welcome, Swamiji.
Namaste.
So, starting our conversation, I want to understand how to explain a consciousness to a layman.
Okay. Are you sitting here right now?
Yeah.
Do you know you're sitting here right now?
Yeah.
So what happened? So through the consciousness, through the senses, you heard me asking the question, isn't it? You saw me asking the question, isn't it? So we lead our life through the five senses. As simple as that. We lead our life through the five senses of hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So our whole life is run through this consciousness. As simple as that. It is no big serious thing which you contemplate about. It is as simple as you leading your life through five senses. And the modes of consciousness, there are four modes of consciousness. One is you express through your mind, isn't it? The consciousness expresses through the mind. It sees through the mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then your intellect, your buddhi. So what do? Now when I ask you a question, the intellect or the buddhi comes into play. So then there is your mind and there is the intellect. Then memory. Like if I ask you, Pratik ji, which year did you pass out? Which year did you complete your engineering? Okay. So then you move into the memory. So you express through memory. And then the ego.
Yeah.
Say, I tell you something and I push your button. So what happens is the ego can come up. How can he ask me this question?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, very simple terms. You lead your life through the five senses and the four modes, the four avenues of consciousness.
Wow. That's so. That is such a wonderful explanation of consciousness. So, in Ishavasya Upanishad, Gurudev has explained and has spoken on this topic a lot. And the very mesmerizing fact is, like, we can easily understand the three states of consciousness because those are very relatable. What is this fourth state of consciousness which Gurudev speaks about in the Ishavasya, but not as detailed, like what we would expect from him? So, can you please help us in understanding that a bit?
Yeah, this is a very beautiful question. There is nothing to explain in the fourth state of consciousness. The moment you explained it, you've lost it. Okay? Now you said already there are three states of consciousness. So what are those three states of consciousness? One is the waking state. The waking state, then the dreaming state, and then the sleep state. So the three states of consciousness you know. So in the waking state, what is happening? The mind, intellect, memory and the ego, ये चार जो है, मन, बुद्धि, चित्त, अहंकार. So what these four are all active in the waking state of consciousness. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the dream state of consciousness, only one or two of these may be active.
Okay.
The memory may be active, the intellect may be active in the dream state of consciousness. Okay. And then in the sleep state of consciousness, all the four are not active. Maybe a little bit in the sleep state, the intellect and memory, a little bit it may be active. It is possible. In the sleep state, a little bit your intellect and memory may be active. Okay. Maybe a little of the mind also, thoda sa, a little bit may be active. But then what is the fourth state of consciousness? In the fourth state of consciousness, which is the Turiya state, that is a state where it is neither waking, it's neither dream, it is neither sleep. You are beyond these three states of consciousness. That is Shiva. That is the Shiva. So there is nothing to explain over there. So the Turiya state of consciousness is your meditation.
Okay.
So the more you explain and explain and explain, it is only becoming an intellectual concept for you. Okay? But then Turiya state of consciousness is what you experience in meditation. Like, what do you experience in the meditation? I am this moment. मैं हूँ इस क्षण में. But where I am, what I am, you may not know.
In short, when you are saying it's relatable to Shiva, so Turiya Avastha is equivalent to Shiva. That is what it means.
We don't need to box it, and we don't need to put a bracket and say Turiya Avastha is Shiva. No.
Okay.
Yes, in the meditative state, you are experiencing infinity. You are experiencing something beyond the dream, the waking, and the sleep. It is taking you beyond. It is much more deeper.
Okay.
Now, in the waking state also, you are in Shiva. You are in the five elements. But what is happening in the meditative state, in the Turiya Avastha, you are experiencing infinity. Now just allow that fly to be there. I am not irritated by it. But you saw, oh, there's a fly behind Swamiji. I should stop him somehow. Maybe he's irritating Swamiji. But he's not irritating me. He's just there.
So
Now, when you allow even that fly to be there, you can enjoy your fourth state of consciousness.
wow, that's a very new perspective I have got today, and this will really help me and help the viewers as well.
Yeah, but don't edit this point. Keep this
Yeah.
point. ये edit नहीं करना.
So, when you were talking about Abhi, like right now, you just said about the boxes. So with that, one thing clicks in my mind, and in Ishavasya itself, Gurudev says about in meditation, boxes disappear. So, can you elaborate more on this? Like, can you help us understand what exactly he means there?
Yeah. My understanding of this aspect when he says in meditation the boxes disappear is when you go to a certain depth in meditation. Or let me just say, when you meditate, your ability to go beyond all those borders is very high. You know, it takes you beyond your past actions. Jo bhi hua hai, meditation burns those karmas. If they were negative actions, the meditation cleanses that particular action. without any effort. That is the beauty of meditation. So when you say you go beyond the boxes, you're going beyond your past. You're going beyond the worries which may be disturbing you. You're going beyond the tension, the anxiety which may be disturbing you at that point in time.
Okay.
So those are the boxes. Okay. You may be going through nightmares.
Yeah.
So you may be going through any situation, whether pleasant or unpleasant. So both those boxes of pleasant or unpleasant are removed. So you are going beyond the opposites in meditation.
Okay.
Without any effort. That is the beauty. That is one aspect of it. There is another aspect of it. When you say, in meditation you go beyond the boxes. When you start practicing meditation on a regular basis, you will laugh and say, there were never any boxes in the first place.
Yeah.
उसमें creativity आ जाता है. Your creativity comes up in that. Now have you heard very often, you all must have heard people say, think out of the box.
Yeah.
Your boss would have told you,
Yes.
I want out of the box ideas.
Yes.
अरे भाई, एक meditator को box रहता ही नहीं है, तो out of the box is out of question.
A nice sutra for all the corporate employees.
Why corporate? For anyone.
Yeah.
So next time someone tells you, come up with out of box ideas. I want you to come up with, do some out of the box thinking. Let us do.
Yeah.
Tell that person, अरे भाई मेरी जिंदगी में box था ही नहीं, तो कहाँ out of box में बात कर?
True.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even when you raise a question of out of box or even boxes, it is beautiful. You raised it for a discussion.
Yeah.
Creativity comes there. See, that is why in meditation, when you go beyond, meditation takes you beyond the boxes. What has happened? It has broken your patterns which may be disturbing you. It is broken the tensions, the worries, the stress. Those are your boxes.
Yes.
So that is the beauty and the power of meditation, where you realize that, hey, box tha hi nahi, there are no boxes. What am I worrying about?
Yeah, that's a very nice sutra, Swamiji. So another question is about which thing is important? Seeing the form is important or worshipping the formless?
This is a very, very beautiful question. So is this question out of the box or is this question from a box? Where is it coming from?
Right now I will say out of the box.
Okay. So let me correct one perspective first. You said when we come to spirituality, okay, I'll tell you, life is spiritual.
Wow.
Okay, you cannot say I will practice spirituality from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
I will do my yoga, I will do my sadhana, I will practice spirituality 6 to 9 a.m. and then from 9:30 a.m. onwards till 6 o'clock in the evening when I am at work, there is no spirituality. So again, break that box. Remove that idea.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Being in that space of goodness, kindness, being in a space of compassion, in a space of sharing, even in your office. Say you help someone with a project. Someone says, hey, can you help me with this project? I am not able to handle this. Can you help me crack this particular thing? So what do? You're helping him over there. So there is an aspect of spirituality. There is a beautiful value of your own spirit that has come into expression. You have expressed it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the first part of your question. Okay. The second part of your question is about worshipping the form and the formless, isn't it?
Seeing the form and
Seeing the
worshipping
form
the formless.
and worshipping the formless. I tell you, both have its role in our life. Both the form and the formless has a role in our life. Okay, you can go to the formless through the form. Okay, now if I suddenly tell you, I say, okay, now why don't we access that particular code? Say if I tell you, Pratikji, let us access, there's a code over there, let us access it. But then you will say, but Swamiji, how do we access it? Where is the code? Now to access that code, you need an instrument, you need a vehicle, you need a technique, you may need a mantra, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you need something to access that code. So you need a form. Okay, so there the form is important, isn't it? You cannot jump that. But yes, there is also a possibility for you to access the formless at any point in time, and which you also do.
Okay.
So I would say both the form and the formless, both are important. Both have their place. Like for example, if you see when we do puja, you would have seen Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar ji doing puja. So you may say, "Hey, Gurudev is the master of the formless. He can bring the formless to you in a second, isn't it?" So what are we doing there? In the puja, we have a form. You have a shivling, or you have a little idol, beautiful idol of a Devi. So what are we doing? Through the form, okay, we are saying, okay, let the formless in me now come and sit in this idol. Let the prana in me, the prana is formless. The subtle energy inside you is formless. So before starting the puja, what do? You do the avahan, you invite. So you invoke, you invite the prana, the divinity inside you, and say, hey, come and sit inside this idol for a few minutes. I want to play with you now. And then the whole game starts. Okay.
So that's how all cultural events or festivities are related to. The Ganeshotsav, the Krishna Janmashtami, everything.
See, even through a drop of water, through a drop of milk, you can celebrate both the form and the formless.
So now coming back to the meditation and practices, how one can be in a permanent bliss state? Is that possible?
How can one be permanently in a bliss state?
Yes.
Who do you think is sitting in front of me now?
A human being.
Okay, a human being. Okay,
Yeah.
so Pratik ji, the human being, is sitting. Okay, now subtler than that. What is even more subtle than Pratik ji?
My breath.
Your breath. Okay, what is more even subtle than that?
The mind.
Your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now what is even more subtle than Pratik ji's mind?
The intellect.
Intellect. Okay, that is where all the questions are coming from.
Yes.
What is even more subtle than the intellect?
Your chitta, your memory.
Your memory,
Yeah.
isn't it? Now what is even more subtle than that?
The ego.
The ego. Can you see your ego?
No.
You cannot see your ego,
No.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You feel it somewhere,
Yes.
isn't it? You can feel your ego somewhere.
Yes.
Now what is even more subtle than the ego?
The self.
The self. Now that is your bliss. That is your bliss. So if you see, this bliss is available right throughout. It is there like a shadow.
Oh.
It is there behind your body, it's there behind your mind, it's there behind your intellect, it's there behind your memory. It is so beautiful. You know, Gurudev says, you are bliss.
Yeah.
That is in your DNA.
Mm.
It is there. It is there. But then, let us go back to your very first question where you said consciousness.
Mm.
So what are you doing? You are expressing. You are expressing. And as you transcend and go beyond the senses, you go beyond the mind, intellect, memory, ego, and then you are experiencing the bliss. And that is what you experience in the Turiya state, in the fourth state of consciousness.
Okay, that's so, like, the knowledge is just here, and I'm just getting it in a very beautiful, like, understanding from you. And so we hear so much about cravings and aversions, and at the same time we hear about vairag also, like, removing everything. But practically, Swamiji, we are in a world where we cannot leave cravings and aversions, because see, if I like something, definitely I want to acquire it, or I need to, I'll try to possess it. And at the same time, if I don't like someone, I will have aversion for that. And at the same time, because we are in knowledge a bit, we will feel like, okay, no, this is too much. So how to balance that? Not just me, all the viewers are practically, feeling very difficult at this moment. How to balance between your cravings and aversions and vairagya?
See, the moment you have asked me how to balance, okay, when you ask me how to balance, that means you already know there is something beyond that balancing.
Okay.
Okay? So you think, I need to balance it. Okay? Now I would like to tell you, you can go beyond it. So how do you go beyond it? Firstly, what is Vairagya? What is dispassion? Vairagya is having the faith in your happiness, in your contentment. Having faith in the feeling that you have enough. That's a very beautiful dimension of Vairagya. What is that dimension? Having the faith that I am content.
Yeah.
When you have that faith के जब वो भक्ति रहती है, अरे मैं तृप्त हूँ, I am happy right now, this moment. You will not get feverish or caught up in the cravings and aversions which will come and go.
Oh.
See, your faith is very strong, isn't it? Everyone has faith and it is very strong. Everyone has this. Every human being, why? Every animal also has faith. Have you seen the kittens? They have faith in their mother. In the cat. Isn't it? The little puppy dog has faith in its mother.
Yeah.
So human beings have that faith already. But the beauty about human beings is when you have that faith in your abundance. You have that faith कि अरे मैं तृप्त हूँ. I am happy right now, this moment. That faith helps you handle all these cravings and aversions which come and go. It will not allow you to get entangled in those cravings and aversions. So you will say, hey, okay, this craving has come. ठीक है, आने दो. Okay, this aversion has come. I don't like this person. I don't like that person. I don't like him. I don't like her. I don't like this food.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So you see the power of faith. Just simple faith, knowing what? I am content right now, this moment. Talking to you, I'm happy talking to Pratik ji. Talking to people, I'm content. Sitting here right now. इस क्षण में मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, ये बातचीत हो रही है. I am content right now. So this faith, the faith in your contentment, the faith in knowing that what you want will come to you. If it has to come to me, it will come to me. If it won't come to me, I am okay. ठीक है. You got it?
Yeah.
You know, very beautiful question. You know, sometimes people ask me, Swami ji, you know, I like that person, I wanted to marry him or her. You know, अब मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ. मैं सोचा मैं उससे शादी करूँ, मैं इससे शादी करूँ. You know why that comes? They have lost, temporarily, they have lost faith in themselves. It's a temporary thing. So you just need that little shift. Seeing that? अरे वो हो ना हो, मैं खुश हूँ भाई. Whether that person is there or no, I'm going to be happy. See, this is the wisdom, you know, the wisdom that comes from the Guru, that strengthens us.
Yeah, with this, I would like to also ask you, as Gurudev says, you know, there are 32 principles according to one of Darshan Shastra, and in that, Shiva is one principle which we just discussed, and then Guru is also a principle.
Yeah.
So, can you please help us even understand that also? Because we are actually under, like, you know, the practicality, the way you are telling us, it's like we can easily relate it.
See, the other day, you know, one man called me and he said, Swamiji, you know, I was having difficulty with my phone. And he said, I wanted to do something. And he said, my son came and helped me. And he said, he's just 13 years old. And he said, my son came and helped me. And in 2 minutes, he did something and my phone started working. So I heard this thing and I said, wow. I said, Arey bhai, at that point in time, your son became your guru. I said, it's so beautiful. Your son came and helped you come out of a difficult situation with your phone. He gave you the knowledge. He corrected it and then he told you, Papa, आपको ऐसे करना है, ऐसे नहीं. You have to do this. You don't do like this. So at that point in time, your son became your guru. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So in our day-to-day life, there are different people who will play the role of the guru for you. Your mother-in-law can become a guru for you. I know some people are laughing.
Yeah.
So sometimes someone on the road who is walking on the road can help you there and he becomes your guru in that moment. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is the guru here? The guru is showing you a direction. The guru is helping you out. He's helping you come out of a difficult situation where you need help. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful a question that you asked here, as in the guru. What is the guru principle? Even Lord Kartikeya, Lord Kartikeya, who was a son of Shiva, also became a guru to him. There's a very beautiful story about that.
Okay, we would like to hear that, Swamiji.
You know, Shiva sent his son Lord Kartikeya, also known as Muruga, in the south, Dakshin Bharat में कार्तिकेय को मुर्गा, भगवान मुर्गा बोलते हैं, कहते हैं, मुरुगन बोलते हैं. So he sends Lord Kartikeya and he says, you go to Lord Brahma and you take your education. So Kartikeya goes to Lord Brahma's school. He goes there and then he says, my father asked me to take knowledge from you. Okay, and then Lord Kartikeya tells Lord Brahma, I want the highest knowledge. Tell me the highest knowledge. And then Lord Brahma tells Kartikeya, you first learn the alphabets. You first learn the alphabets. After that, I can teach you the highest knowledge. Then Lord Kartikeya says, I want the highest knowledge from you. If you do not know, I will go away. मैं वापस जाऊंगा. So वो नाराज होके Lord Kartikeya, the young boy, he leaves Brahma and he goes back home. And then Shiva asks, his father asks, what happened? You came back so early from Lord Brahma's school? क्या हुआ आज? He says, no, I asked Lord Brahma for the highest knowledge. And he could not give it to me, so I came back. So he says, no, Lord Brahma has all the knowledge. Go back to him and take all the knowledge from him. And then mischievously Kartikeya says, do you know all this knowledge? He asks his father, Lord Shiva. And then Shiva says, no, I don't know. I don't know the meaning of Om. Lord Shiva says, Kartikeya says, you don't know the meaning of Om also? The primordial sound? You don't know the meaning? And then Shiva says, no, I don't know. And then Kartikeya puts his hand like this and he says, I will tell you the meaning of Om. And then he says, but you have to give me the place, the pedestal of a guru. Because I am going to teach you the meaning of Om. I am going to give you the highest knowledge. So what does Shiva do? So Shiva takes his son Kartikeya and he puts him on his shoulder. He puts him on his shoulder, and then it is said that Kartikeya whispers. He whispers the secrets. He whispers the highest knowledge in the ears of Lord Shiva. So you triggered, this beautiful thing. Now Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar Ji is going to speak about these secrets. He's going to speak about the beautiful secrets of Lord Kartikeya, of Lord Muruga, on July 24th, 25th and 26th. He's going to talk on, it's called Murugan Rahasyam. Kartikeya ke Rahasya. Lord Kartikeya's secrets. He's going to reveal to us amazing, beautiful secrets which even I don't know now.
Yeah, because they were said in the ears of Shiva.
Yeah, it was whispered in the ears of Shiva. And from many of the scriptures, it has, in the many scriptures in Tamil Nadu, in the scriptures that we have, a little has been shared about Kartikeya, what he has said, but when it comes from a living master, when it comes from a guru, the guru is able to decode and share it with us very easily. This is the beauty.
Yes.
So I invite all of you to join this webcast. It's going to be an amazing program, Murugan Rahasyam. You can join this webcast and you can register for this program very easily. So I request you to show them the poster, the details, so that they can register for this program.
We will. So that was a very wonderful session, Swamiji, today. And with this, we end this third episode of ours. And we'll be back on this coming Sunday again with Swamiji and the same sort of questions which you all want to hear. And you can go in the description and see the registration link for the Murugan Rahasyam and do register for it. Jai Gurudev.
Jai.